Hello everyone, I'm Lucy Fanger, CEO of On Technology Partners, and I'm proud to be sponsoring our new program, Women STaRs. In each episode, we will spotlight an amazing woman and the struggles and triumphs that she has faced. Then we will reflect and share her insights. Our goal is to engage, entertain, and explore the women STaRs in our world today. I hope you enjoy.
I want to thank you all for listening today. My name is Shanti Harkness, and I'm the Media Manager for On Technology Partners, a woman-owned company addressing cybersecurity and risk. Join us as we share the reflections of women just like you that have survived struggles and embraced triumphs in their lives. Today, we'll be talking with Natasha Hansen. Natasha Hansen began her comedy career in 2006 and hasn't looked back. Much of her humor, on stage and in her writing, focuses on personal aspects of her life, including her own failures, family, and her engagement. On June 15th, 2019, the day she was actually supposed to get married, Natasha recorded and self-produced her first comedy special titled, "I Was Supposed to Get Married Today," shot at her contracted wedding venue. Recorded in front of a live audience of her family, friends, and wedding guests, she turned the entire evening into an all-encompassing wedding experience for her guests. To help people challenged by ending relationships, she established My Breakup Registry, a community-driven platform that allows people to crowdfund their breakup or divorce, register for items lost in their split, and access community resources and subscription services for things like housing, moving, mental health, and wellness. Her podcast, Future Role Model, is a platform where professionals from all backgrounds can share how their experiences and failures catapulted them into being the influencers they are today. Natasha, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to do this. It's always fun to have these conversations from a fresh perspective. So here we go.
We're excited to have you. So before we begin, why don't you tell us something that others may not know about you or something exciting about yourself?
Oh, when people ask this, it's always so weird. I'm like, which direction do I go here? I think the most unexpected thing about me is that I was originally supposed to be a surgeon. I was in school I was in pre-med in the program at University of Minnesota and left because I was secretly harnessing my love for performing and was taking a theater minor just to tell my friends, I'm just doing this to have some levity in my life, and really just knew I wanted to perform. So it's kind of an unexpected thing. Once you've been in entertainment for a long time, nobody asks you what you were going to do besides entertainment. Mm-hmm. So on the rare occasion somebody brings it up, I'm like, oh yeah, I was about to do this totally other thing. I completely forgot about that. I would have made a terrible surgeon. I would have just messed with people too much.
Funny surgeon.
Yeah.
Not usually something that you associate with each other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just, got a scalpel. I'm going to just go to town. I don't know what would a funny surgeon say. I don't know.
You didn't need this leg, did you?
Yeah. Sorry. Oops. So there's been a mistake. I have your chart. Yeah.
That would be funny in one sense, but at the same time, from the patient's perspective, it'd be terrifying for a split second.
Lots of lawsuits, lots of terrible lawsuits. But no, I actually don't think I would have been a goofy surgeon. I think you find the path that's meant for you. And because I knew that was going to be more my personality, was going to be this, business-minded performer, it just wasn't the way I was supposed to go. I could feel it in my bones.
All right. So we know that triumphs don't come without their struggles. So talk to us a little bit about what some of your biggest struggles have been. This can be either professionally or personally, and how you were able to get through those struggles and what kind of an impact that they had on your life or career.
Oh my gosh. I've had a lot of struggles. I mean, who hasn't, right? But I think a huge one, it kind of just depends on when, obviously being a woman in comedy's had its struggles, but it's also had its huge advantages as well. So I don't really like to harp on that too much. I think a lot of people do tend to focus on that. What was their struggle being a woman? I'm like, we do deal with a lot. I think a lot of people in any sort of work environment agree that, there's definite things that women have to put up with that men don't. But there was a lot of great things that came of that too. Like, guy would think I was cute and be like, you want to book a show? And I'd be like, yeah, I'll do your show. And then, you're actually funny. And then they're like, oh, good job. So, but I think the biggest struggle has been more recently, when I was going through the process of ending my engagement. It was a long drawn out process. I've now been in a new relationship for the last year. And a lot of people do a thing where they go through a traumatic experience, like a big breakup. I had been with that person for like 9 years, and kind of undoing of the threads, kind of a re-evolving into you being okay being alone. And then when you get into a new relationship, there's massive struggles in that. I did a lot of guilting myself and beating myself up for things in my former relationship. I also had to deal with feeling like I almost sabotaged it in some ways because I just wasn't ready. And, that person really, really cared about me. And I just kind of found the comedic high road, but on a personal level, I felt really bad about a lot of stuff. And so I think, the biggest thing, and I think this kind of lends itself to what a lot of people have dealt with in, the pandemic, is dealing with massive change, not just with your surroundings and everything being uncomfortable and everything being new and different in a completely different operating system, but also dealing with interpersonal change and understanding how within your relationships, you're constantly evolving, and you honestly can't learn a ton about yourself just being alone. Just healing from something and being alone doesn't give you enough information to really know who you are in context of another relationship. So getting into a new relationship has been a huge whirlwind. Yeah.
That's actually a really interesting perspective, because I feel like we hear so much about, taking that time to really get to know yourself and spending time alone before getting into a relationship with somebody else. But you bring up a great perspective about, you don't, the dynamics change when you get into a relationship with somebody else.
Yeah.
So things that you might have done one particular way could shift in that relationship. And so,
Right.
you have to learn something different.
Yeah, it's weird because that healing process you do alone is necessary,
Absolutely.
But there also can be a lot of damaging things that happen for yourself in that time. For example, with me, I had ended the relationship. I had just shot a special that correlated with it directly. I built a company that correlated with it directly. And so I was feeling like this, oh, I'm championing this thing. I'm championing this thing on 2 different levels. I hope I'm helping people. And in that championing of myself process, started to really realize that I was lacking empathy in other places of my life for what some other people in my life maybe had been going through, or lacking of empathy of the people close to me, because I was thinking of myself as this person that had to go through this particular thing. It's just interesting what you learn about yourself. And you're like, whoa, I really have to take a second here and realize that yes, I have this thing going on. Yes, I think I'm helping people, but also make sure to pay attention to your friends and the things that they're going through as well, even though they may not be going through the same type of thing right now. Make sure to lend enough care to the people in your life. It was just a big learning curve, huge learning curve. I'm still coming through it.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
So in addition to what you shared about, listening to others and checking in with others, did you have any other tips or things that you did to help you get through those challenging times?
Well, I tend to be an anxious person, not in the way that a lot of people think of it. I'm not legs jittering, high anxiety feeling, but I manifest stress through action. So I busy myself. And when you're a person that operates that way, you tend to not have empathy for people in your life who don't operate that way. Some people, when they're stressed, go towards the depression side. I have a lot of people in my life that do. And I just wouldn't really take the time to understand maybe what they were feeling. I'd be like, just get up and deal with it. Just go do this or whatever. And that's not their way, so that was a big thing to be like, hey, there's a another category of how people deal with stress or deal with things in their lives. Recognize that not everybody operates like you. And so that was a big one. And then, as far as just how I deal with it on a personal level, again, because I'm anxious, like I get active. So I'll, go for a run or do something centering like yoga, or just try to take care of my body in some way, spiritually, physically, to just kind of keep myself a little bit balanced. I mean, balance is an ongoing obstacle in all of our lives, I think. And especially coming out of a time where the world was so quiet and we didn't have as much to do. So you could feel a little bit like, secluded and a little bit like, oh, I can just kind of nestle into my own space right now. Well, now we're back in the real world again, and it's a new version of it. And so it's like, it's like a mind trip for people. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of taking that precaution for yourself, so you are acting properly to the people around you, and also taking that time and understanding that the people around you haven't been dealing with the same issues or the same collective trauma the same way that you have been. So
excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. So let's take a moment now and focus on your biggest triumph. Can you share what that was and what made it so great for you?
There's been a lot, because, over time you have to kind of give yourself those like little celebratory wins. Otherwise, there's no way you can survive entertainment. You can't. You have to be like, oh, I almost got a yes for this thing. Oh, I'll have to consider that a yes. That means like I'm in the 1%, you have to just give yourself those little things. But I think out of all the years that I've worked in entertainment and worked to like hustle and sell a show or whatever have you, my favorite thing that I've created is my startup. Honestly, I'd always really had an eye on tech companies and apps and things that were coming out. And I always had a feeling I would own or be the founder of something large like that one day. And coming from idea to fruition and having a product actually out and having something on the market that I'm, working to scale is really exciting, because I don't have any background in that space. So it was new for me, and I had to figure everything out by myself. I had to do all the research of how to develop something by myself. I had to make some costly mistakes by myself. And it has been extremely rewarding to go through that process from the ground up, in a short amount of time. It's like to prove to yourself that, hey, you can have an idea and you can just make it happen. And there really aren't excuses. You can figure it out. There's the internet. There is the internet.
So useful now.
Free resource to everything. You have resources up the wazoo, So it's pretty crazy what you can learn in a short amount of time and what you can make real. And so it's kind of really encouraging to people out there, if you come up with something, you can make it.
And there are resources online to show you exactly how to do it and what not to do.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, you can just sit in a YouTube process. You can get the best, most brilliant minds out there, sit and listen to them. Free resources. It's pretty wild that we live in a time where that's possible. People used to have to take a wagon across some dirt roads and like go find a dude and then go find another dude. Like I launched a company in a year from the idea to launch. It was like a year and 3 months, what?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
So we have a lot at our fingertips and we forget that. And we make a lot of excuses for ourselves. Like, oh, I don't have the time. You do. If
you want it bad enough,
you make time, you figure it out. Mm-hmm.
So Natasha, that as women, we juggle with a multitude of different things. There's career, family, household responsibilities. Sometimes there's illnesses or caregiving. How do you maintain a work-life balance? And what do you think that employers could do to be more supportive of that balance?
I did a lot of research on this when I was founding my company, because I wanted to model it right. I wanted to hire or outsource people that I knew were people that I would stand behind as like who they are as human beings. So I did a lot of research when I hired my development team, make sure their morals and values added up to what I believe in. A big thing is, I don't know, it's just really important to know how you want to structure something, be open-minded, and also give people that space to be able to communicate with you with what their needs are. Anyone who feels overworked isn't going to do a good job for your company. If somebody is coming on board with you and they really love to travel, then giving them a remote opportunity is a great idea, because then you're not taking away something that will eventually make them resent your company. Have real conversations with people, like what can you accomplish away from a desk, and what do you need to be in an office for? What type of space do I need to provide you where you can provide me with the best quality time from your brain? Because right. People forget to ask each other that, but like on a Monday, you might really need to work from home because you just need to like ease up into your week. And other people may need that jump start to the week to be surrounded by other people and have like something going on to kind of get them excited for the rest of the week. You have to figure out who you're working with, what type of person they are, what drives them. And the biggest thing too, for me, whether it be entertainment or tech, like work with people that you want to work with. Work with people that you want to hang out with. I mean, as much as you can make that an option for yourself, do it. Prime example, I have an advisor team that's wonderful, and like they're wonderful friends and wonderful for my company. And an offer for some funding came through for me, and they gave me a little bit of a backstory on how difficult these particular investors are to work with. And my answer to that was hell no. I'm not going to take money from somebody who sucks. Like, no, if you cannot get into bed with people that are going to treat people or poorly or mistreat people. At the end of the day, if you created a company, it's yours, right? Mm-hmm. So why involve people in it that tarnish it? Take the time to build something right. Pick the team that you want. Really do your due diligence. Make sure you're finding out people's values, what drives them, what type of time commitment they actually have, what other interests they have or things they have going on, and acknowledge that and understand if it's a good fit,
I could not agree more. And that's one of the things I really like about On Technology Partners is they were very thorough in, the interview process and making sure, that I was going to fit well with the team and with, mm-hmm. The company's core values, and, really getting to know you and truly value you as an individual, as part of the team, as part of the family of the company, and really taking care of each other. I remember, and I still love sharing this, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic when everybody was going crazy, you could not find bottled water anywhere in the town that I live in. My bosses went out to the store as soon as they heard about that, went out to the store, bought me like 20 gallons of water, and drove an hour and a half to bring me water.
Wow.
Like I cried because when they say, we're a family, we take care of each other, they actually meant it. And I've worked at companies before that have said that, but then they were never there for you. So to be part of a company that actually says what they mean and actually cares about you as a person and wants you to succeed so that the company succeeds. Yeah. And actually puts you first is amazing. And just it makes your commitment to the company even greater than
oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't take that kind of thing into consideration. It doesn't have to be these grandiose gestures. Like, mm-hmm. That was something that a really stellar entrepreneur businesswoman that I love and became close to over the last year. She gave me some really good pointers. Like when you're hiring, your first payroll person, which I don't have payroll yet. Everything's, 1099 or, something I contracted. But she said, when you're hiring your first payroll employee, you're not going to be able to offer them, especially if they're as great as you want them to be, the salary that you wish you could. You're not Google, you're not Amazon, you're not a conglomerate. Like, you can only pay them what you can pay them. And she's like, but there's other ways to sweeten the deal. Work from home options, on off quarters, things like that. So people have time to like plan out travel, certain other perks, that you can, and just personalizing the touch, like being able to say, you may not be making, X amount a year like you wish you were, but every day when you come to my house and we're doing our meeting, I'll make sure to either cook you an amazing lunch or just like whatever kind of sweeping gesture that you can that makes somebody feel seen or appreciated. That goes a long way, because in a lot of those bigger companies or in these other situations, you get lost in the shuffle and people forget about the little things like your water, or like that you might like a note every once in a while on your desk that encourages you, so that you're like, oh my God, they're thinking of me. They see I'm working hard. Like, things like that can they can just really do a lot for a person's spirit in an environment that they're in every day. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Natasha, how would you define success for yourself? And do you have any tips or habits that you use to help you to be successful or to feel successful?
Yeah. I think that really is the question of success, right? Is, are you successful or do you feel successful? And what does that mean? What's the difference there? I've struggled with the term of success for a long time. I had like a prophecy over me when I was young that people would ask me what the secret to my success was. And it really stuck with me. It was like an elder from my church, and he just had this vision of what was going to happen in my life. And I've really harped on myself. What does that term success even mean throughout my career? Is it the appearance of success? Is it you feeling fulfilled? I learned a lot about how I feel about success in the pandemic. Honestly, I wanted to re-enter life after the pandemic, building something real rather than the appearance of something that makes me look busy. And that's hard to do in an industry like comedy. It's hard to do in tech. You always want to look like you're up to something grandiose, right? Makes people think like, oh yeah, I want to stay in touch with, see what they're up to. But if you take that pressure off of yourself, you start to feel successful in a different way. You're starting to time block, you're managing your commitments better. You're understanding what you can give to other people and how often. I used to run around like crazy, hanging out with people, social butterfly. And now I'm more like, okay, there's a time and a place for those things, but like, what can I do today that I can, work on myself, work on what I'm building, actually be creating something that I'm proud of? And when do I call it quits and go hang with mom and dad and go get lunch with grandma? Like, when do I? So, success for me has been, that ongoing process of figuring out like, how can I build something real? How can I still do that while managing proper time for the right people in my life that actually need to be taking it up? Our time is our most valuable resource. So it has to be something we take a lot of pride in and care with. And so, yeah, it's like those things that have made me feel even more successful than having a multi-million-dollar company. And I think the balance and the attention to those things allows people to build those types of companies.
So take a moment now and reflect on something that you wish you would have known sooner in life and share that with us.
I know it out the gate. I know it out the gate. Oh my God. I've talked about this so much recently to friends. Why didn't anybody, you move to a city like Hollywood and people ravage you with information, right? They're how to get an agent, how to get at this, how to build a portfolio, how to make your resume, blah, 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 what acting classes to take. Nobody tells you how to manage your money. Nobody tells you you're in a city that's expensive. And this could go for any industry in any city, right?
Absolutely.
You're young, things are expensive. You're renting. You're generally renting. Nobody's telling you, hey, make these small investments. Hey, do this or that. Maybe if you invest in this and live further out of the city for this first year, you'll be able to buy property. Nobody teaches you about hard assets, how to actually grow your money. And you don't need a lot of it to do it from a younger age. And I didn't know any of that. And I only started learning about investments and financial, gain from teaching myself in my 30s. And it's never too late, but my God, do I wish somebody would have taken more care in spreading that information? Because, your acting resume may get you a couple $1,000 job, but that couple $1,000 investment that you put into something can get you a couple $100,000 down the line. So
it's a big difference.
Big difference. So that, and definitely just pay attention to those things as much as you can and figure out what types of investments make sense for you, but do it, have them. My gosh, diversify your portfolio as early as you can.
So kind of along those same lines, what advice would you give to young women that are just beginning their careers, or perhaps women that are thinking about changing careers?
God, there's a lot of advice that I would give or do give to people, and this doesn't just go for women. I think this is just for anybody, but you have to be okay with being your biggest advocate for a long time. And that being said, you cannot allow yourself to feel victimized by not getting things you didn't ask for. If you didn't ask for it, you don't know if you would have gotten it. I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about their income at a company, or what they're getting paid on a gig or a job, or what a contract entails for somebody, or just whatever it may be. Ask questions, figure out what your environment is, figure out what your value is in that environment, know what you're worth, ask for the things that you want, do it with tact, but tell people what you need. I, for years, was afraid to show weakness, especially in entertainment. I had a production company that I started. I was busy. I was working on different lots, trying to sell TV shows, running around all these different comedy clubs. All the time, I had second and third jobs because I wasn't making really good money on all these various endeavors that were wildly time consuming. They're still necessary because you're building towards something that you want, but nobody knew I needed gigs. It looked like I had all the things. Once I started, using social media as a tool to talk on stories and be like, hey, I know I look busy, but I need this, or I'm looking for this, or hire me for this. People were like, oh, you're available? Oh, you want to do other work in entertainment besides the things you're already doing? And I was floored. I was like, oh, people didn't know that I was in need. So if you fake it till you make it too hard, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because nobody knows that you have anything to desire. They don't know to offer anything to you. So ask for the money, ask for the gigs, ask for the jobs, ask questions, and build enough and build enough and build enough where you start to know your exact monetary value and equating it to what you can give. And then know that you don't cost less than that anymore. And then your time becomes much more valuable. You can start saying no to things that don't make sense. And your life becomes a little bit less stressful with the faking it till you making it busyness.
I could not agree more with all of that. And I think another point kind of on what you just shared there at the end is, knowing what to say no to, and knowing that you can say no. Yeah. It's okay to say no.
You can tell people straight up. You can tell people, hey, this is my price for this particular job. Unless it can be matched, I'm sorry, I don't have the time. People do it all the time. People that are successful do that. You've done enough of the legwork to be able to hit a benchmark. And it's okay to have to accept less every once in a while. You pull favors for friends or whatever have you, but don't do that too often. I hire my friends for a lot of stuff. And guess what I do? I pay them. I pay them. And then they pay me. And this is how we interact as adults. Yeah.
So Natasha, do you have any last words, anything that you would like to share with our listeners? Any, final thoughts, any promotions, anything you've got coming up that you would like to share?
Yeah, sure. Final thoughts. I guess, again, when it just comes to building, like I had said earlier, I touched on this briefly, but being your own biggest advocate is such a big thing. You cannot have any shame in your game. I have a couple years ago, I produced a Europe tour with another comedian. We produced everything from the ground up and we were headlining it. We were co-headlining it in these smaller theaters and venues throughout Europe. It was an awesome trip, but we needed to sell those theaters to cover a lot of our expenses or our deals with the venues. So we were showing up to these cities in the morning, walking to coffee shop, literally handing people in Germany a flyer with our picture on it with a scan code for the tickets for that show tonight with a discount code if they came because we just met them. I mean, is it embarrassing to have to hand somebody a picture of yourself and say, please come to my show? Or is that necessary and empowering to be able to be like, hey, I'm going to tell you that you're going to have such a good time if you come to this, that this is worth me doing this exchange. And to me, it was the latter. It's like you have to do whatever it takes. And if that's embarrassing for you, then you don't have what it takes.
That's true.
You have to be, and as a founder, you have to be the person on the phone, calling people, messaging people on Instagram. Hey, I want to partner with you. I think you'd be a really good partner for my website. You have to do it all. You've got to pave the way. Nobody's going to do it for you. And I think the more you can remind yourself that, the healthier it is. It's not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing if you have to be your biggest advocate. You should always be your biggest advocate. One day, hopefully you build to a place where there's a lot of other people that are advocating for you and it's much easier, but never let go of that. You've got to love what you're selling. And if you're selling yourself, you better love that more than anything. So yeah, I am currently, scaling my company, my breakup registry, mybreakupregistry.com. So that's really exciting. Partnering with a big hotel group coming up. So I'm adding in some partnerships. So a big need of mine for anybody out there that could be listening, I'm looking for partnerships. A big thing I'm pushing with my company is trying to build out, encouraging people to ask for their friends to support them in healthy endeavors after a breakup. So not just go and party, but I'm looking for partnerships in health and wellness in the telehealth space, experiences and travel, retreats, things like that, where people, spas, where you're going through a breakup and you can send your registry to your friends and they can, pay for your spa day or pay for certain things like that. So these are partnerships I'm working on building in right now. So if there's anybody out there that's interested in working in a capacity like that, I'm all about collaborating. I like to showcase somebody else and we showcase each other and build each other up. So that's a big thing. And I'm excited for everything I have coming up with my breakup registry. My special's still out. It's called I Was Supposed to Get Married Today. I don't have a ton of touring left for the rest of the year because during the holidays, I like to hang with my family. So I'll be doing a lot of shows in the Midwest area by them. But I'm working on my tours for early 2022. So you can keep tabs on all my upcoming tours by following me on Instagram at NPH Comedy or on my website at nphcomedy.com. So that's pretty much all my places.
Excellent. And for everybody that's listening, definitely check out her special. It's available on Amazon Prime. I watched it last week and it's hilarious. You will definitely enjoy it. So be sure to check that out.
Thank you so much.
So Natasha, it's been so wonderful speaking with you today. Thank you again so much for taking the time for this interview.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
On Technology Partners wants to thank you for joining us on this episode of Women STaRs. If you'd like to appear on a future podcast episode, or if you'd like to nominate a woman to be interviewed for Women STaRs, please email stars@ontechpartners.com. My name is Shanti Harkness. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on today's journey. Remember, you are all women stars. If you wish to learn more about our Women STaRs program or want to be a guest on our show, contact us at stars@ontechpartners.com. And thank you to On Technology Partners for helping me make this program a reality. Remember, we at On Technology Partners want to help you protect your team from hackers. To learn more about our cybersecurity services, go to ontechnologypartners.com.